The champagne flute trembled in Maya's hand as she watched her parents orchestrate what felt like her own funeral. The Victorian house's living room, with its carefully restored crown molding that she'd spent 3 weekends painstakingly repairing, suddenly felt foreign, as if she were viewing someone else's life through a window. "Elena, sweetheart." Her mother's voice carried that special warmth reserved for the family's golden child. "Your father and I have something very special for you." Maya's stomach clenched. She'd been dreading this moment since Elena had flown in from Los Angeles that morning, designer luggage in tow, complaining about the quaint neighborhood she'd grown up in. Elena, at 25, still possessed that effortless beauty that had always made Maya feel invisible. The kind of luminous skin that never needed makeup, the naturally wavy hair that photographed perfectly for her sparse Instagram modeling gigs. Their father stepped forward, his arthritis-gnarled hands trembling slightly as he produced a brass key from his pocket. The same key Maya had used countless times to let herself in for grocery runs, doctor's appointments, and the endless stream of maintenance tasks that came with a "This is for you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The house is yours now." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She watched Elena's face transform from mild curiosity to stunned delight, tears immediately springing to her eyes in that dramatic way she'd perfected in her high school theater classes. "Dad, Mom, Elena's voice broke beautifully. "I can't believe this. Are you serious? We've been planning this for over a year," their mother said, beaming. "We wanted to wait for the right moment. New Year's Eve felt perfect, a new beginning for our artistic daughter." Maya's hand shot up involuntarily. "Wait, what about, I've been living here, taking care of you both, paying the utilities." Her voice sounded foreign to her own ears, high and strained. Her parents exchanged a look, the kind of silent communication that had always excluded her. "Maya, dear," her mother said with patronizing gentleness, "you're so stable, so capable. You don't need this kind of security. Elena's career is unpredictable, and she needs a safe place to land." Besides, her father added, his tone suggesting the matter was settled, "you've always been the responsible one. You understand about sacrifice." Maya stared at them, her mind reeling. 5 years of her life poured into this house, into their She'd turned down job offers in Seattle, ended a relationship with David because he wanted to move to Portland, deferred her master's degree indefinitely. She'd installed smart thermostats, updated the electrical system, planted and maintained the garden that had become the neighborhood's pride. She'd held her mother's hand through chemotherapy, driven her father to countless cardiology appointments, and slept in the guest room more nights than her own apartment. "A secret will be revealed someday," her mother said mysteriously, as if this cryptic promise should somehow comfort Maya. "You'll understand then." Elena was already examining the key with reverence, as if it were made of gold instead of brass. "I can move back from LA next month. This is perfect timing. My lease is up, and the industry is so competitive right now." Maya watched her sister who hadn't visited for Christmas in 3 years, who called their parents maybe once a month, who had never so much as mowed the lawn or fixed a leaky faucet. Elena would inherit the house Maya had essentially been renovating with her own hands and paycheck. The injustice of it crystallized in that moment, sharp and clear as winter air. She wasn't just losing a house, she was losing recognition for every sacrifice she'd made, every dream she'd deferred, every night she'd chosen duty over her own happiness. As Elena hugged their parents, Maya realized with startling clarity that she'd been cast in a role she'd never auditioned for. The reliable daughter, who would always be there, always understand, always sacrifice. And now she was being discarded the moment her usefulness was complete. The champagne in her glass had gone flat, but Maya drained it anyway, tasting nothing but the bitter flavor of betrayal. The first crack in Maya's composure came 3 days later, when Elena called their parents while Maya was preparing their father's blood pressure medication. "Oh, Elena," her mother's voice brightened instantly. "Yes, darling, Maya's right here. She's been such a help with the transition planning." Maya's hand froze over the pill organizer. "Transition planning? What's Elena asking about?" Maya kept her voice carefully neutral as her mother hung up. "Oh, just logistics about moving back. She's so excited about finally having stability." Her mother smiled that indulgent smile. "She mentioned you've been so understanding about everything. I told her you'd help with the practical details. You're so good at that sort of thing." The words hit Maya like a slap. Elena had been told Maya was understanding, as if Maya had agreed to this, as if her shocked protest on New Year's Eve had been performance rather than genuine devastation. That evening, Maya drove to her small apartment, the place that had somehow become a temporary refuge rather than a home, and called her college roommate Sarah in Seattle. Wait, back up, Sarah's voice crackled through the phone. Your parents gave Elena the house you've been practically renovating for 5 years. They said she needs security more than I do. Maya, you've been paying their utilities. You put in that whole smart home system yourself. You've been their unpaid caregiver since your mom's cancer diagnosis. Hearing it laid out so starkly by someone outside the family bubble made Maya's chest tighten. They said I'd understand eventually, that there's some secret. Honey, the only secret here is that your parents have been taking advantage of you for years. Maya hung up feeling worse, not better. She spent the night staring at the ceiling, Sarah's words echoing in her mind. The second revelation came when Maya arrived at the house on Saturday to help her father organize his medications. She found him on the phone in the kitchen, his voice more animated than she'd heard in months. The lawyer said everything should be finalized by the end of February, he was saying. Yes, we've been planning this since last January. No, Maya doesn't know all the details yet. Maya retreated to the hallway, her heart hammering. A lawyer? They'd been planning this for over a year. While she'd been working overtime to afford the house improvements, while she'd been sleeping in their guest room during her mother's worst chemo days, they'd been meeting with lawyers about giving it all to Elena. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and called Elena directly. Elena's voice was bright, artificially enthusiastic. Mom said you wanted to help with my move. That's so sweet of you. Elena, did you know about this, about them planning to give you the house? A pause. Well, yeah, Mom mentioned it a few months ago. She said you were on board with it, that you thought it made sense since you're more established in your career. The lie hit Maya like a physical blow. I never said that. I had no idea until New Year's Eve. Another pause, this one longer. Oh, well, maybe there was a miscommunication. But Maya, you have to admit, it makes sense. You're doing so well and I really need this right now. LA is brutal and I've been struggling to make rent. I've been struggling too, Elena. I've been paying their utilities, their grocery bills, taking care of them. But that's different. You're good at that stuff. You like taking care of people. The casual dismissal of her sacrifices left Maya speechless. Elena continued, oblivious to the devastation she was causing. Besides, Mom and Dad said this was always the plan. They said they'd explain everything eventually, but that you'd be happy for me once you understood. After hanging up, Maya sat in her car outside the house she'd thought of as home, pieces clicking into place. Her parents had been orchestrating this betrayal for over a year, feeding Elena lies about Maya's approval, while feeding Maya lies about Elena's surprise. They'd turned her sacrifice into complicity, her devotion into a trap. The final blow came the following week when Maya was cleaning out the desk in her father's study, looking for his insurance cards. Tucked behind a stack of medical bills, she found a folder labeled House Transfer, Elena. Inside were documents dating back 13 months, lawyer consultation, property assessments, bank statements, showing money being set aside. Money Maya now realized came from the utilities she'd been paying, money her parents had been saving by accepting her financial support. At the bottom of the pile was a handwritten letter from her mother to Elena, dated 6 months earlier. Dearest Elena, don't worry about Maya. She'll understand eventually. She always does. She's the responsible one, the one who takes care of everyone else. You need this security more than she does. She's always been self-sufficient, and she gets so much satisfaction from helping others. By the time we give you the house, she'll see it makes perfect sense. She loves you and she wants what's best for the family. Maya read it twice, her hands shaking. Her mother had reduced 5 years of sacrifice to a personality trait. Her devotion had been reframed as satisfaction with servitude. Her love had been weaponized against her. Sitting in the study where she'd helped her father manage his bills, surrounded by the house she'd poured her savings and sweat into, Maya felt something cold and hard crystallize in her chest. This wasn't just about a house. This was about her parents seeing her not as a daughter deserving love and consideration, but as a resource to be used until depleted. They'd counted on her understanding. They'd counted on her accepting this betrayal with the same grace she'd shown in every other sacrifice. For the first time in her life, Maya decided they'd counted wrong. Maya's transformation didn't happen overnight. It began with a single photograph, the smart thermostat she'd installed in the main hallway. Its sleek silver face, a stark contrast to the vintage wallpaper she'd also hung. She snapped the picture with her phone, then methodically moved through the house, documenting everything. The Ring doorbell system, $400, installed by Maya after their neighbors experienced a break-in. The modernized electrical outlets with USB ports throughout the house, $800 in materials. Countless hours of her own labor learning to wire them safely. Click. The refinished hardwood floors in the living room, $1,200 plus 3 weekends on her hands and knees with a belt sander. Click. The smart locks on both front and back doors, $350, installed when her father started forgetting his keys. Click. Room by room, Maya cataloged her investments. The washer and dryer she'd bought when theirs died 2 years ago. The updated bathroom fixture, the garden shed she'd built from scratch, even the herb garden that had become her mother's pride when neighbors complimented it. Each photograph felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. That evening, Maya spread printouts of utility bills across her kitchen table like tarot cards, revealing an ugly future. 5 years of gas, electric, water, and internet bills, all in her name, all paid from her account. The total made her stomach clench. $18,000 that her parents had saved while she'd struggled to maintain her own apartment. She opened her laptop and began a spreadsheet titling it Investment Recovery Documentation. In meticulous detail, she logged every expense, every improvement, every night she'd stayed over to care for them instead of living her own life. She photographed receipts, bank statements, even the work gloves she'd worn down to holes refinishing their deck. The legal consultation came next. Maya had always avoided lawyers. They seemed expensive and intimidating, but desperation gave her courage. Margaret Thornton's office in downtown Portland was all glass and mahogany, the kind of place Maya had imagined was only for wealthy people with complicated divorces. "This is more common than you'd think," Margaret said after reviewing Maya's documentation. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who'd built her practice around elder law and family disputes. Adult children who provide care and financial support often find themselves with legal standing they didn't realize they had, but they own the house outright. Can they really just give it away? They can give it away, yeah. But if you can prove unjust enrichment, that they benefited from your labor and financial contributions with the understanding that you'd have some claim to the property, you may have grounds for recovery. Margaret leaned forward. The key question is, did they encourage your investment? Did they allow you to improve the property with the understanding that you were building equity in your family home? Maya thought about all the times her mother had praised her improvements, how her father had bragged to neighbors about Maya's beautiful garden and the smart home system Maya installed. They'd never discouraged her spending, they'd celebrated it. "Yes," Maya said firmly. "They absolutely did. Then you have options." "But Maya?" Margaret's expression grew serious. "This kind of legal action changes family relationships permanently. Are you prepared for that?" Maya thought about her mother's letter dismissing her sacrifices as personality traits, about Elena's casual assumption that Maya would just accept being discarded. "My family relationships changed permanently when they decided I was worth less than my sister. I'm just catching up." The first phase of Maya's plan was subtle. She began removing her belongings from the house. Not dramatically, just gradually. The expensive knife set she'd bought for the kitchen, her grandmother's china that she'd been storing in their dining room, the paintings she'd bought to brighten their walls. When her mother noticed the missing artwork, Maya smiled pleasantly. "I'm redecorating my apartment. You don't mind, do you?" "They're mine, after all." Her father frowned when the good kitchen knives disappeared. "Where did the Henkels go?" "I took them home. Elena probably doesn't cook much anyway. She can get a basic set when she moves in." These small removals served a dual purpose. They were psychologically preparing her parents for what was coming, and they were protecting her belongings from any potential legal complications. The second phase required more courage. Maya scheduled appointments with her parents' doctors, the cardiologist, the oncologist, even their primary care physician. She'd been attending these appointments for years, so no one questioned her presence. "I'm concerned about some memory issues," she told Dr. Herdinson, their family physician. "My father has been forgetting conversations, and my mother seems confused about financial matters. I think someone needs to evaluate their capacity to make major decisions." Dr. Peterson's notes would become part of Maya's documentation. If her parents tried to claim they'd made the house decision with full mental clarity, she'd have medical records suggesting otherwise. The third phase was the most painful. Maya began researching alternatives for her parents' care. She contacted social services, researched assisted living facilities, and compiled information about in-home health aides. Not because she wanted to abandon them, but because she needed them to understand what their world would look like without her constant support. Elena called on a Thursday evening, her voice tight with irritation. Mom said you took some stuff from the house. What's that about? I took my belongings home. Is that a problem? It's just weird timing. I'm trying to plan my move and you're taking things. Maya kept her voice level. Elena, you're getting the house. I think I can take my own possessions. But Mom said you were being helpful with the transition. I am being helpful. I'm helping you understand exactly what you're inheriting versus what belongs to me. There was a long pause. Maya, you're not being weird about this, are you? Because Mom and Dad really need our support right now. Don't worry about me, Elena. Focus on your move. You'll want to budget for utilities, by the way. They run about. After hanging up, Maya felt the first genuine smile she'd experienced in weeks. Elena had no idea what she was walking into. The responsibility, the expense, the daily reality of maintaining an old house and caring for aging parents. Maya's final preparation was the most strategic. She researched property management companies and elder care services, compiled quotes for everything from lawn care to grocery delivery. When Elena inherited the house, she'd also inherit every task Maya had been handling for free. The smart home system she'd installed had a feature Elena probably didn't know about. Everything could be controlled remotely through Maya's phone. The thermostats, the security system, the smart locks, all connected to Maya's accounts, all installed with her credit card. Maya had built their comfortable life, appliance by appliance, system by system. Soon, Elena would discover exactly how much comfort cost when you had to pay for it yourself. As February approached and Elena's move-in date loomed, Maya felt a calm settle over her that she hadn't experienced in years. For once, she wasn't scrambling to fix someone else's problem or sacrifice her own needs for family harmony. She was done being the reliable daughter who always understood, always sacrificed, always forgave. It was time for her family to learn what life looked like without her devotion, and what it cost to take someone's love for granted. Elena's first day in her dream house began with a 6 a.m. phone call to Maya. The alarm system isn't working. Elena's voice was sharp with panic. I keep hearing beeping sounds, and I can't figure out how to turn anything off. Maya, sipping coffee in her quiet apartment, felt a flicker of satisfaction. Did you try reading the manual? What manual? Maya, I need you to come over and fix this. I can't, Elena. I'm at work. A lie. It was Saturday, but Elena didn't need to know that. The system is pretty intuitive once you get used to it, but you set it up. You know how it works. I did set it up, in my name, with my credit card connected to my phone. Maya, let that sink in. You'll need to contact the company to transfer the account. Good luck. Maya hung up and promptly disabled the entire system remotely. Within an hour, Elena called back. Everything just stopped working. The thermostat, the door locks, even the doorbell. That's strange, Maya said innocently. Must be a system-wide failure. Have you called technical support? What Elena discovered over the next week made Maya's careful documentation seem prophetic. The smart thermostats weren't just connected to Maya's account, they required a monthly subscription service. The Ring doorbell system needed cloud storage fees. The automated sprinkler system Maya had installed for the garden required seasonal programming that Elena didn't understand. By Wednesday, Elena was calling multiple times a day. The gas bill came, and it's $400. How is that possible? It's an old house, Elena. That's actually pretty normal for winter heating. Did you think utilities were free? But you always. Elena stopped herself, finally understanding. Maya had been paying these bills for years. Thursday brought a new crisis. Something's wrong with the hot water heater. There's water all over the basement floor. Sounds like you need a plumber, Maya replied calmly. I'd recommend Johnson & Sons. They know the house. Fair warning though, they charge extra for emergency calls. Can't you just come look at it? You fixed it before. That was when I lived there, Elena. It's your house now, remember? By Friday, Elena's voice had taken on a note of genuine desperation. Maya, I need help. The garbage disposal is broken, the internet keeps cutting out, and I think there's something wrong with the electrical in the kitchen. Some of the outlets aren't working. Maya almost felt sorry for her sister. Almost. Have you called an electrician? Do you know how much electricians cost? This is insane. Elena, this is what homeownership looks like. I dealt with these problems for 5 years while you were in L. But you like this stuff. You're good at it. There it was again. the casual dismissal of Maya's sacrifices as mere preference rather than necessity. I learned to be good at it, because someone had to be, now someone has to be you. The breaking point came when their parents called Maya on Sunday morning, their voices shrill with panic. Maya, you need to get over here right now, her mother demanded. Elena is having some kind of breakdown, and we don't know what to do. Maya found Elena sitting on the front porch steps, still in pajamas at 2 p.m., surrounded by papers and bills. Her sister's usually perfect hair was unwashed, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Maya, Elena looked up with desperate relief. Thank God you're here. I can't do this. I can't handle all of this. Maya sat down beside her, noting the pile of service estimates. Electrician, 800, plumber 600, internet technician, 100, pest control 200. Elena, this is just normal house maintenance. I dealt with these same issues constantly. But you never told me it was this hard. You never asked. You just assumed I enjoyed spending my weekends fixing toilets and resetting circuit breakers. Their parents hovered anxiously in the doorway. Maya's father cleared his throat. Perhaps we could help Elena with some of these costs. With what money, Dad? Maya's voice was sharper than she'd intended. The money you saved by having me pay the utilities for 5 years. The money you'll need for your own care now that I'm not here every day. Her mother's face went pale. Maya, what do you mean? Maya pulled out her phone and showed them the research she'd compiled. Adult daycare for dad's increasing memory issues, $200 a day. In-home health aid for mom's mobility problems. Grocery delivery service, $30 per week, plus tips. Lawn care, $80 per week in summer. She looked at each of them in turn. I provided all of these services for free. Elena gets the house, but she also gets the responsibility. Elena was crying now, the kind of helpless tears that had always brought their parents running. This isn't fair. I can't afford this. My acting classes alone cost $300 a month, and I need headshots, and I needed to finish my master's degree. Maya interrupted. I needed to take that job in Seattle. I needed to not break up with David, because he couldn't understand why I was always here instead of with him. Maya stood up, brushing off her jeans. Elena, you have 3 choices. You can learn to handle these responsibilities like I did. You can sell the house and split the proceeds with me to compensate for my 5 years of investments. Or you can give the house back to Mom and Dad and let them figure out their own care. You can't just abandon us, her mother cried. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just not enabling this family's delusion that my sacrifices don't matter. Maya pulled out a folder from her bag. I've filed a legal claim for unjust enrichment. Margaret Thornton is my lawyer. You'll be hearing from her soon. Her father's face turned red. You're suing your own family. I'm recovering compensation for 5 years of unpaid labor and financial contributions that I made with the understanding that I was investing in our family home, a home you gave away without my consent. Elena looked stricken. Maya, we're sisters. We shouldn't need lawyers. You're right. Sisters shouldn't need lawyers. Sisters should talk to each other honestly. Sisters should consider each other's sacrifices and feelings. Maya's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. When did you last consider mine? The silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of 5 years of unacknowledged sacrifice. I've left care instructions for Mom and Dad on the kitchen counter, Maya continued. Doctor's appointments, medication schedules, emergency contacts, everything I've been managing. She looked at Elena, who was still crying on the porch steps. The house comes with responsibilities, Elena. I hope you figure out whether you want the one badly enough to handle the other. As Maya walked to her car, she heard her mother calling after her. Maya, please, we can work this out. We're family. Maya turned back one last time. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. When you figure out what family actually means, you know where to find me. Driving away, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in years. The lightness of being free from their expectations, their assumptions, their casual dismissal of her value. Behind her, she left Elena, learning what responsibility actually cost, and parents who were finally beginning to understand what they'd lost when they chose favorites. The real consequences were just beginning. 3 months of silence shattered on Easter Sunday when Elena showed up at Maya's apartment door, flanked by their parents like a dysfunctional intervention squad. Maya opened the door to find Elena's face blotchy from crying, her mother clutching a tissue, and her father looking older than she'd ever seen him. They stood in her hallway like refugees from their own decisions. We need to talk, Elena said, pushing past Maya into the apartment. Actually, we don't. Maya remained by the open door. If you want to discuss the legal settlement, contact my lawyer. Maya, please. Her mother's voice cracked. Enough is enough. This has gone too far. Has it? Maya closed the door but remained standing. Because from where I sit, this is the first time in 5 years that anyone in this family has actually had to face consequences for their choices. Elena was pacing Maya's small living room like a caged animal. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her usually pristine appearance was disheveled. Do you have any idea what the last 3 months have been like? The house is falling apart. The heating bill alone was $600 last month. The garden you planted is dying because I don't know how to take care of it. Sounds rough, Maya said evenly. The smart locks stopped working completely, so I had to pay a locksmith $300 to get into my own house. The security system keeps malfunctioning, and something's wrong with the electrical. Half the outlets in the kitchen don't work. Maya almost smiled. Elena had discovered what happened when smart home systems weren't maintained by someone who understood them. Did you call an electrician? He wanted $800 just to diagnose the problem. Maya, I'm drowning. My savings are gone. I had to take a job at a restaurant just to pay the utilities. Their father stepped forward, his hands shaking more than Maya remembered. Maya, this feud has to stop. Your mother and we're struggling too. Elena can't help us the way you did. Because Elena was never asked to help the way I was. She was never expected to sacrifice the way I was. But we raised you differently, her mother protested. You were always so capable, so responsible, so you made me responsible for everything while Elena got to be the precious artist who needed protection. Maya's carefully maintained composure began to crack. Do you know what I gave up for this family? Really know? Elena stopped pacing. Maya, I know you're angry, but angry. Maya laughed bitterly. Elena, I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. Anger would imply I still cared enough to be hurt by your selfishness. That's not fair. Elena's voice rose to the pitch it had reached when they were children fighting over toys. I never asked for any of this. You never asked because you never had to ask. Everything was just handed to you. Maya's voice finally exploded. The house, Mom and Dad's love, their support for your dreams while mine got dismissed as stable career choices. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled to a photo. Do you know what this is, Elena? She held up a picture of David, her ex-boyfriend. This is the man I was going to marry. The man who asked me to move to Portland with him 3 years ago. I said no because Mom was going through chemo and I couldn't leave. Elena's face went pale. Maya, I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. You were too busy in LA, living your dream while I was here living your nightmare. Maya's carefully buried pain poured out like water through a broken dam. David got tired of competing with this family for my attention. He got tired of canceled dates and shortened phone calls because Dad needed a ride to the doctor or Mom needed someone to sit with her during treatments. Her parents exchanged guilty glances. Maya pressed on, relentless. I turned down a promotion that would have required travel because Dad's memory was getting worse. I deferred my master's degree indefinitely because the tuition money went to house repairs and your medical bills. I lived like a nun for 5 years while you praised Elena for following her dream. Maya, her mother whispered. We didn't realize, you didn't want to realize, it was easier to take advantage of the responsible daughter than to ask your precious artist to sacrifice anything. Elena was crying again, but this time it felt different, less manipulative, more genuine. Maya, I swear I didn't know about David, about your job, about any of it. Of course you didn't. Because when I called you crying after David left, you talked for 5 minutes about your latest audition and then had to go. When I mentioned being tired or stressed, you'd say at least you have job security and change the subject to your latest headshots. Maya sat down heavily on her couch, suddenly exhausted. Do you want to know the real kicker? I convinced myself I was doing it out of love. That family meant sacrifice. That being the good daughter meant swallowing my resentment and my dreams. Her father cleared his throat. Maya, what if we told you there's something you don't understand, something we've been waiting to explain? Your mysterious secret. Maya looked at him with dead eyes. Let me guess, you were planning to give me something too, but Elena needed the house first and I was supposed to wait my turn like a good girl. The look that passed between her parents confirmed her guess. We were going to give you the house in our will, her mother said quietly, the whole house. Elena was supposed to get it temporarily, just until she got established and then what? Maya's voice was dangerously quiet. Elena would just graciously hand over a house she'd been living in. A house you gave her, and I was supposed to be grateful for eventually getting back what I'd already invested 5 years of my life in. We hoped you two would share it, her father said weakly. Maya stared at them in disbelief. You gave my sacrifice to Elena and expected me to share the crumbs. You handed her 5 years of my life and thought I'd be grateful to split the inheritance I'd already earned. Elena looked stricken. Maya, I had no idea about any of this planning. They told me the house was mine outright. Because it is yours, Elena, that's what they decided. Maya turned to her parents. But here's what you didn't count on. I don't want the house anymore. I don't want to share it, inherit it, or fight over it. She stood up, walking to her window that overlooked a small but carefully tended garden, the first space that was entirely hers. I want compensation for what I invested, and then I want all of you to leave me alone. Maya, please, Elena's voice was small. I can't handle this. The house, taking care of mom and dad, the money, I'm drowning. Then sell the house and split the proceeds with me. Pay me back for my 5 years of free labor and financial support. Figure out mom and dad's care the way any family would, without a built-in caregiver. But we're family, her mother protested. Maya turned back to them, and for the first time in her life, she saw them clearly, not as the people she'd devoted herself to, but as individuals who had systematically exploited her love while rewarding Elena's absence. Family doesn't work the way you think it does. Maya said quietly, family isn't one person sacrificing everything while everyone else takes it for granted. Family isn't loving someone conditionally based on how useful they are. She looked at Elena, who was clutching the tissue box like a lifeline. Elena, you have a choice. You can keep the house and figure out how to handle the responsibilities that come with it, including mom and dad's care. Or you can sell it. We can split the proceeds and we can all figure out our lives separately. And if I can't handle it, Elena's voice was barely audible, then you'll learn what I learned, that love isn't enough when it's not reciprocated, that sacrifice isn't noble when it's expected, and that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to stop saving everyone else. Maya walked to her door and opened it. You have 2 weeks to decide, Elena. After that, Margaret will file for forced sale of the property. As her family filed out, broken and defeated, Maya felt something she'd never experienced before, complete peace with disappointing them. For the first time in her adult life, she was choosing herself, and it felt like coming home. 6 months later, Maya stood in the kitchen of her new condo, sunlight streaming through windows she'd chosen herself, making coffee in a machine she'd bought without considering anyone else's preferences. The silence was profound, no emergency phone calls, no crisis management, no guilty weight of someone else's unspoken expectations. The settlement had been completed 2 weeks prior. Elena, faced with mounting repair bills and the reality of caring for their aging parents, had agreed to sell the Victorian house. After legal fees and Maya's documented investment recovery, they'd split the remaining proceeds. Maya received $107,000, not just from the house sale, but from Margaret's successful unjust enrichment claim that covered 5 years of unpaid labor, calculated at the rate of a professional caregiver. It's not about the money, Maya had told Margaret during their final meeting. It's about acknowledgement that my sacrifices had value. Elena had moved back to a small apartment in LA. Their parents eventually settled into a senior living community that provided the medical support they needed. Maya had contributed financially to their care, not out of obligation, but from a place of genuine choice. The difference felt revolutionary. The knock on her door that Saturday morning surprised her. Through the peephole, she saw Elena standing alone, holding a small potted plant. I was in town, Elena said when Maya opened the door. Job interview. I thought, maybe we could talk. Maya studied her sister. Elena looked different, older, more grounded somehow. The desperate edge that had characterized their last encounter was gone, replaced by something that might have been maturity. Coffee, Maya offered. They sat in Maya's living room, sunlight revealing how much Elena had changed. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, her clothes practical rather than fashionable. She looked like someone who had learned the weight of responsibility. I owe you an apology. Elena began, not just for the house thing, but for never seeing how much you were giving up. Maya sipped her coffee waiting. She'd learned the value of silence, of letting people finish their thoughts without rushing to fix or forgive. I've been in therapy, Elena continued, trying to figure out how I became someone who could take so much and give so little back. She looked around Maya's space, the carefully chosen furniture, the photographs of Maya's travels over the past 6 months, the evidence of a life being lived for its owner. This place is beautiful. It's so, you. Thank you. I found out about David, Elena said quietly. Aunt Margaret told me about the job offers, the master's degree, all of it. Maya, I had no idea how much you'd given up. I know. Do you think, Elena's voice was tentative, do you think we could try again? As sisters, I mean, not going back to how things were, but maybe building something new. Maya considered this. In therapy, yes, she'd started therapy too. She'd explored the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. She could forgive Elena's thoughtlessness without returning to a dynamic that had nearly destroyed her sense of self-worth. Elena, I don't hate you. I probably never did, but I can't go back to being the sister who gives everything and asks for nothing. I wouldn't want you to, Elena said quickly. I don't want to be the sister who takes everything and gives nothing either. Maya smiled, the first genuine smile she'd directed at Elena in months. Then maybe we can figure out who we are when we're not playing those roles. Elena's job interview, it turned out, was for a position managing social media for a nonprofit in Portland. Not acting, but work that felt meaningful and paid a living wage. I'm tired of being broke, she admitted. Tired of depending on other people to rescue me. How are Mom and Dad adjusting? Maya asked. Better than expected, actually. Mom joined the gardening club at their place. Dad's been helping other residents with their computers. Elena paused. They ask about you. I visit them once a month, Maya said. On my turn, they know they messed up. Dad especially. He told me he didn't realize how much he'd been depending on you until you weren't there anymore. Maya nodded. She'd had this conversation with her father during one of her visits. His apology had been awkward but genuine, tinged with the bewilderment of someone discovering that their most reliable resource was actually a person with feelings and limits. I started a consulting business, Maya told Elena, helping families navigate elder care transition. Turns out all those years of experience were valuable after all. Elena's eyes widened. Maya, that's amazing. Are you happy? The question caught Maya off guard. When was the last time someone had asked if she was happy rather than if she was helpful? I am, Maya realized. For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. Elena set down her coffee cup. I got the job. I'll be moving back to Portland next month. And congratulations. I was wondering, would you maybe want to have dinner sometime? Not as the old Elena and Maya, but as whoever we're becoming. Maya looked at her sister, really looked at her. Elena had always been beautiful, but there was something different about her now. She seemed present in a way she'd never been before, as if she'd finally stopped performing her life and started living it. I'd like that, Maya said, but Elena, we split the check. Elena laughed, a genuine sound, free of the calculated charm that had always made Maya feel like an audience, rather than a sister. Deal. After Elena left, Maya sat in her garden, a small patio space she'd transformed with container plants and fairy light. She thought about the letter she'd written to David the month before, not asking for reconciliation but offering closure and apology for the way their relationship had ended. He'd written back kindly, sharing news of his engagement and expressing genuine happiness for Maya's new independence. Some losses couldn't be recovered, some sacrifices couldn't be undone, but Maya had learned something valuable in the wreckage of her old life. Love that required her to disappear wasn't love at all. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah in Seattle. Coffee date when I visit next weekend. Want to hear about this consulting business? Maya smiled, typing back. Absolutely. Fair warning though, I actually have stories now. As evening settled over her condo, Maya felt something she'd almost forgotten existed: anticipation for her own future. Not the future she was building for someone else. Not the dreams she was deferring for family obligation, but the life she was creating for herself. She'd learned that sometimes the greatest act of love for others and yourself was refusing to accept being taken for granted. And sometimes the best revenge was simply living well. In the end, Maya's family had given her an unexpected gift with their betrayal. They'd forced her to discover her own worth. Now finally, She was living like someone who believed in. The secret revealed someday had turned out to be the most important one of all, that Maya Chen deserved a life where her love was valued, her sacrifices were appreciated, and her happiness mattered. She'd finally learned to be the protagonist of her own story.